Hey y'all! Hey y'all! Welcome to Wealth Wednesdays. For our regulars, you know I normally start my lives off by singing and dancing and bojangling for you, but tonight we're going to be having a serious conversation about how to make super rich black kids. I put out a thread the other day and I stated the obvious, that kids were expensive, right? And I listed 3 ways that you can take your child, right, and make your place your descendant in a wealthier place than where you may have started. So instead of singing tonight, I had a word on my heart. I had a word on my jaw. If any of you all have ever read Habakkuk, perhaps this word sounds familiar. And the Lord answered me, and he said, write the vision and make it plain upon tablets, so that he may run that readeth it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, for it will surely come. What have you spoken into your children's lives today? I know you've probably said that maybe, listen, baby, you can't have another snack because you had a snack 5 minutes ago. Maybe you said to your child, listen, I know Zoom is going to last just another 20 minutes, baby, but I know you can make it. Pick your head up, right? Look right on at the screen. School's going to be over. It won't last always. Maybe you spoke to your kid and said, 45 minutes of gaming is enough, but have you spoken wealth into your kids' existence? Some of us, right, have been raised by parents with good intentions, but maybe their financial practices were aligned with what they have seen in the past. But don't you know that in the information economy, we have the opportunity to swim in the ocean of knowledge and not drown in ignorance? And what that means for our kids is that we don't have to make the decisions that our forefathers made, that we could position our kids in such a way that they could speak the language of wealth fluently in such a way that they can apply it so their kids and their kids' kids and their kids' kids' kids can walk with the type of economic self-confidence where they don't have to beg other people to do for them what they are capable of doing for themselves. That's what it means to write stuff down and make it real. What have you spoken into your kids' lives today? Today, we're going to have a conversation about the child tax credit, and not just that. How can you take an $1,800 advance payment? How can you take a $3,600 advance payment if you have 2 kids under the age of 5 and multiply that payment in such a way where your kid can hit millionaire status by the age of 30, by the age of 35, by the age of 40, by the age of 45? We're going to be talking about how you can start an LLC and add your child as a member. We're going to be talking about what type of mutual funds you can select for your child so your child doesn't have to worry about the ways in which investing and compounding interest can work for or against them. And we're going to talk about how the child tax credit may benefit you and what are some of the things that you can do to make sure that you can get the maximum benefit. Now, you already know my philosophy. I believe whenever Uncle Sam offers to pay you, you need to take the cash. And I know that now we are living in a season where tax-funded dollars are making wealthy people wealthier. Some of you all missed that. Tax-funded stimulus dollars are making wealthy people wealthier because wealthy people are taking the time to leverage the policy and transform that into profitability. That's why I said instead of focusing on the stimulus check, we should have been focusing on the stimulus bill. When it comes down to this child tax credit, there are tips and tricks that you can utilize in order to ensure that you get the maximum benefit, not just for 2021, but for 2021, 2022, and 2023. When Uncle Sam has his hand out, or when Uncle Sam is offering to pay, take the cash, okay? So for the 2021 child tax credit, they are paying parents $3,600 for kids that are under the age of 5 and $3,000 for kids between the ages of 6 and 17. Now, in the news, they're going to talk about how half the credit will be paid out, right? And the other half will be available at a different time. What does that mean? Well, starting July 15th, The government is going to calculate how much tax credit you qualify for based off of your adjusted gross income. We're going to talk about that in a second. They're going to half that amount, right? So if it's $3,000, they're going to cut that in half. That's $1,500, and they're going to pay that out over 6 months, right? From July to December on the 15th of every single month, with the exception of August. In August, the check will come August 13th. All right. So how do you know if you qualify for this benefit, and what are some of the caveats that may disqualify you, right? That you can correct all the way up until December. Well, first, they're going to be looking at your adjusted gross income. Now, the adjusted gross income is what wealthy people know that financially illiterate people don't understand. Your adjusted gross income is the income you earn after deductions. I always tell people, specifically Black people, if you're not writing off at least $20,000 in your expenses annually, then you are paying Uncle Sam way too much money. And if you are Black and you are watching this wealth group chat, you should already know that our parents have already compensated America, right, unwillingly, right, under duress, way more than what they deserve. So with that being said, when we're talking about adjusted gross income, it's an opportunity for you to reduce your taxable income so Uncle Sam isn't getting paid more than what you should owe him. How do you do that? The deductions can come from on the personal side, so charity, whenever you donate to a charity, medical expenses, sometimes you can write off mileage, sometimes, but a maximum amount of deductions come when you own the business. And that's why I like to tell people, even if you never wanted to be an entrepreneur, you should absolutely still own a business. Because when you own a business, all you have to do is attempt to make a sale in order to maximize the tax benefit. So what that means is that if you signed up to drive Uber, right, you turn on the Uber app, right, someone 5 miles from you wants you to take them for a ride, and you say, you know what, I only want to take people on my block that asked me for an Uber ride. You've logged into Uber, you've signed up as an independent contractor, you've attempted to make a sale because you turned the app on. That is an attempt to make a sale. And the IRS says that you can attempt to make sales for 3 to 5 years, and in that 3 to 5 year time period, you can write off all of the tools that you need, all of the services that you need in order to execute and operate that business. For those of you all who are currently in business, but perhaps it's not generating the type of revenue that you want. So perhaps you own a t-shirt business, right? You have a wonderful t-shirt business and you absolutely love your slogan, but you pushing like 1 unit a year, right? You done purchased 50 shirts. You selling 1 shirt a year. It's not because you're not talented. Perhaps your slogan has not caught on, right? Cardi B, Jay-Z, Beyonce has not put it in a lyric in a song. You can still write off your inventory, your laptop, your cell phone, your internet bill, the newsletter that you leverage like MailChimp and Constant Contact in order to reduce your taxable income, right? So if you make $50,000 and you have $20,000 in expenses, that means now you have a $30,000 taxable income. This is how Donald Trump paid $750 in taxes. He wrote off his expenses. Why am I spending so much time on this? Because there are some folks who are watching this live that may say, I don't qualify because the income limit is too high. There are people that can make $200,000, $150,000, but write off $75,000 in expenses, and now they have an adjusted gross income that's reflective of how much they earn after they've written off their life through business ownership. Okay, so there are some people right now, I promise you, that will get the child tax credit and they're making 4 times, 5 times as much as you do. You sitting next to Becky looking you right up in your face, knowing that she gets paid 2 times more than you do and you working 2 times as hard. Becky is making $200,000, you making $80,000, and both of you all are getting a tax credit because Becky might own a business and she's writing off half of what she earns through her business. We have to get smart about the tax code, you guys. So for this particular benefit, you're going to calculate your adjusted gross income, all right? And whatever that is, you're going to find on your taxes, right? So you're going to look at your 2020 taxes that you should have filed already. And if you are married, your adjusted gross income should be $150,000 or fewer. If you are the head of household, your adjusted gross income should be $112,500 or fewer. So that's $112,500 or fewer. And if you are a single filer with kids, it should be $75,000 or fewer. You can find this number on your taxes. Now, I know folks are going to have questions about taxes, right? You might say, look, I don't like Uncle Sam, right? Uncle Sam has always had his hand in my pocket. So I said, you know what, Sam, the only way for me not to let your hand be in my pocket is for us to be in separate rooms. So perhaps you and your tax paperwork, right, have not been submitted to the uncle in a couple of years. You can still file your paperwork, right? As long as your tax paperwork is processing, right? So it doesn't mean that the IRS has viewed it yet, but simply that your paperwork is processing, you can qualify for this benefit. So, essentially, another thing that you should know is that let's say that your 2020 taxes are processing, they will use your 2019 numbers, right? So let's say you just filed your taxes 2 months ago. Yes, you were late. No, 2 months ago wasn't April. Wait a minute. Yeah, it was not April. I had to count. I'm a political science major. You filed your taxes late and you're concerned that you won't qualify. They will use your 2019 numbers until they fully process your 2020, right? Your 2020 tax returns. And if the numbers don't match, they will adjust your tax credit based off of your most recently submitted and fully processed return, okay? Next, you will need to update your information via the IRS portal as soon as possible if you believe it to be incorrect. What do I mean, right? So let's say your banking information changed, right? You were banking at a big bank. Now you want to bank at a black-owned bank. High five. Hello. I hope nobody missed that, right? So you over here, you at Industrial Bank, right? Industrial Bank, you making it rain every single day on payday. But you realize that the IRS has the big bank, not the black bank on record. You want to go to the IRS Child Tax Credit Update Portal, right? So it's important that you put an update portal. That update portal will allow you to update your status. If you got married, okay? If you got married, you want to make sure that you put that on your taxes, okay? Super important if you update that status. Now, I know a lot of folks have said, listen, it was a pandemic. Boo kept coming over, right? He had a place, I had a place, but both of us were working from home. Before you know it, we was working, we was Netflixing, then we was chilling. Working, Netflix, and chilling. You know, first it was 2 of y'all, now it's 3 of you all. You know, that's what happens when you chill in Netflix, right? So now you got a whole new baby, and you trying to figure out if when you filed taxes, you didn't know that Junior was up in here, can your child still qualify for this credit? And the answer is absolutely. If you had a child in 2021, so you have birthed a child between June and July, it is not too late for you to update the status of your taxes to reflect that you are now a parent and you will qualify for this benefit, okay? Super important. Let's say that you're pregnant now and you're going to have your child after July. You can file for this tax credit all the way up to December 2021 and get the full tax benefit as long as your child is not born on January 1st, 2022, right? So you just got to have the baby in 2021. And if you had a child late 2020 and perhaps you did not file it in your 2021 taxes, or maybe you had a child April 16th and you filed your taxes April 15th, it's not too late to update it, okay? So newborns qualify, and if you're pregnant and your baby is on the way, you may qualify as well, all right? Now, one of the things that I want to talk about is unenrollment, right? So there are some folks who have been advised on if they should unenroll from the tax credit. And the only reason why you would unenroll is if you think that your tax bill might be so high that you need the tax credit to bring your balance down to zero. So I'm talking about people who your tax bill is, you anticipated being $4,000, right? And you know that you're getting back $3,600 tax credit, right? You only want to pay a $400 tax bill, right? Then you want to make sure that you maybe unenroll, or if you get advance payments, that you hold on to that cash until tax time, all right? So I know some folks are like, well, what is some of this conversation talking about? Maybe you should unenroll from the benefit. You only unenroll if you're anticipating a large tax bill. And again, that takes us back to the benefits of owning a business. How owning a business can take your tax bill essentially to zero or lower it just for attempting to make a sale. All right. So we're going to jump down to a couple of examples, and then we're going to talk about investing and starting a business for your child. So if you're married, and let's say you're as a married couple, you're earning $150,000 and you have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, meaning your child is under the age of 5, you would not get 3,600 times 2, all right? Instead, you will multiply 3,600 times 2, which equals 7,200. Then you would divide that in half, which brings you back to 3,600, and then you would divide that across 6 months, all right? So that would equal $600 per month, right, for both of your children. So you definitely want to do the math. Take the benefit. You want to make sure you divide that in half. All right. And then you want to make sure to divide it again by 6. And that's how you get the benefit. Now, let's make sure that we understand that if you have no income, you still qualify. So there are some folks that might have been like, well, I'm not earning anything. Maybe you got laid off, right? Maybe you have been on unemployment. So you're in the meantime, in between time jobs, right? So if you're earning no income, you still qualify. Now, IRS is going to be paying out via direct deposit. Those are folks that are going to get their payout the fastest. If you don't have your bank account on file with the IRS, I would recommend that, because paper checks get lost in the mail and paper checks get sent last. All right. So now let's move on to the fun stuff. Let's talk about, now that you have the tax credit, how can you multiply, right? How can you multiply this benefit in order to maximize a return for your child? And I'm going to answer this question from Miss Finer really, really fast. She said, how do you sign up for the benefit? You don't have to sign up for the benefit. If you filed your taxes, that means your paperwork is already on file with the government, okay? So if you filed taxes and you claim dependents, right? And dependents can be the children that you have. It could be adopted children. It could be any minor under the age of 17 for which you have full custody and they rely on your income, right, in order to persist. If you file these individuals on your taxes, then the IRS will automatically begin sending you these payments. You can either accept these payments or you can opt out. Now, it's too late to opt out for the July 15th payment, but it's not too late to opt out to the August payment, all right? So this is automatic. All right, so let's talk about what do you do now that you have the resources. If you don't need it to pay bills, if you don't need it to purchase food and beverage, right, in order to feed these hungry kids, because now snack time is not the responsibility of the public school in your state. It is now your responsibility to feed those kids apples, peanut butter, crackers, cookies, and chicken nuggets, right? So the healthy chicken nuggets, the vegan kind. And now they're feeding into your budget. If you don't need your money, this money for your necessities, this is a perfect opportunity for you to think about how you can begin investing in your child's behalf. And one of the things that I teach parents is that there are 2 opportunities that you can invest in that you may want to consider. Actually, 3. One is a 529 college savings plan, and another one is a custodial IRA. I'm going to start off with the 529 college savings plan. Now, the 529 college savings plan is an opportunity for you to save for your child's future college or trade school education. We already know that the landscape of college is changing. I was just watching The Chi. Literally just watching The Chi, and this smart black girl with a beautiful afro was talking about how the investment in college usually doesn't yield the returns, right? You graduate with a relationship with Sally Mae and a separate but unequal paycheck. So when we start to talk about our kids' future and college education, one of the things you want to think about is how much money do you exclusively want to invest in a college savings plan if college might not be in your child's future. My recommendation is always to diversify the investments that you make in your child's behalf. I would probably put about 30% in a 529 college savings plan because that also includes a trade school. But when you select a 529 college savings plan, one of the things that you want to do is be intentional about the mutual funds that you select. So when you select a plan, it's going to ask, do you want to invest conservatively? Do you want to invest aggressively? Do you want to invest in blue chip funds? Do you want to invest in mid cap, small cap funds? And what you want to do is you want to take a look at the funds that have companies with long-term futures. And usually these are recession-ready companies, right? So these are companies that you don't anticipate going out of business in the next 20 or 30 years, right? These are the Walmarts that are popping up all across the country. This is a dollar store that your grandma will nearly make you get into the crash or pull over so she could go over there and get her $1, right, glass, get her $2 charger, right, get her $1 bag of chips, right, her $1 soda because she's so happy about Dollar General that you don't anticipate going out. These are companies you don't anticipate going out of business in 20 or 30 years. The biggest mistake that people make with the 529 college savings plan is simply selecting the plan that was recommended to you by a representative. If you want to be on the safe side, you want to look for the blue chip companies. All right. So that's one. Now, two, I'm going to talk about the custodial IRA account because this is one that is near and dear to my heart. That I don't have kids. I do have a dog baby and he's in the cage. I'm going to bring him out next Monday. But if you have kids, and when I have a kid, I'm going to start with the custodial IRA account. And essentially what a custodial IRA account is an individual retirement account that allows for you to save for your child's retirement when they are kids. Now, you as a parent are responsible for registering that child for the account and also making deposits. And usually where people get, I believe, a little deterred about opening an account like this is that they hear that the child has to earn income. And that was something that I talked about in my slide deck, right? They're like, well, my baby is 5. How can my child earn income? Or my child is 13. Nobody will hire him at the grocery store. I told him, go get a resume, right? He said he wanted to move out my house. I told him, get a job, right? He said he wanted to come in and out of my house whenever he wanted to at the age of 14. I said, fine, pay some rent. Right? When I took him down to go get a job, they said, ma'am, if we hire him, we'll go to jail because he's underage. How does your child earn income when they are underage? Well, here's some of the caveats with the government. If your child works for you, that is not considered child labor or breaking child labor laws, right? So if you own or if you have birthed a younger child, one of the things that I recommend is that you start a blog immediately. Start a blog immediately and have your child either be a baby model for the clothes you were going to buy for him anyway. Review the outfits. You know, maybe the child is in a nice little Dianu, that's a black-owned brand, baby onesie, right? So maybe you want to have your child maybe review laundry detergents that you use, right? Baby skin is really soft, right? So you're reviewing true laundry detergent on your blog. What's the best way to wash your baby's clothes? Because you know you always need a washer and dryer. Maybe your baby needs to help you review baby food. You got to feed the baby every day anyway, right? What am I saying with this? Well, your blog is your business. And every single time your child wears the clothes, every single time your child tastes the food, these are now expenses that you've incurred. So that's a write-off. Whenever your child wears an outfit, right? Whenever your child eats baby food, these are tax write-offs for you to reduce your income, but it's also an opportunity for you to pay your child, right? So with your child tax credit, perhaps you're paying them $50 every single time they model for your blog. Maybe you are paying them $100 every single time they review formula, right? So this is an opportunity for your child to earn income, and then you can legally deposit that into an individual retirement account that you can grow on their behalf. And for older children, it's important for you to understand how your child can become a member of an LLC that you own. Again, maximizing your tax write-offs. So what are some skills that your child has right now that translates into business ownership? You thought your child was just doing laundry because you was tired of washing their drawers, right? But they're learning a skill, how to separate whites from colors. How can you take them to your neighbor's house, and perhaps your neighbor has kids too, and your child can offer to do their laundry, earn income from you through allowance, and also earn income through them. The whole purpose of that is that you can deposit it into their custodial IRA, individual retirement account, and grow it over time, benefiting from compound interest. Now, I know some folks talk about this, but they don't talk about the funds that are good to start. Because when you open the retirement account, the first thing your investment advisor is going to ask you is, what mutual fund do you want to put into your child's account? There's one thing that you want to make sure, right, that you don't select for a child, and that is a target date fund. So make sure you write that down. You do not want to select a target date fund, because a target date fund is meant to age with your child. So that means that the older your child gets, the less riskier the investments will be. But if your child is 1, right, your child probably has a good 50 years worth of risk it can endure before other more secure, less risky investments are put into their account, like bonds. All right. You want to go with blue chip mutual funds. You want to go with small cap mutual funds. All right. So you want to go with either one of those. And I'm going to give you 2 recommendations. You want to make sure that you have, you want to consider VTSAX. All right. So this is Vanguard's total stock market index. And this allows for your child to have a broader exposure to the stock market without you having to choose those stocks that you think will go the distance. Essentially, what you do is you place the responsibility in the fund manager's hand, and it's their responsibility to make sure that the fund is returning year after year. Some of the companies that are in VTSAX, which is again the Vanguard Total Stock Market Index, is Apple, Amazon, Facebook, Tesla, Berkshire Hathaway. Just last night, Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger had a conversation about wealth. What's the future of wealth? What's the history of wealth, right? Where do they see wealth going in the future? Berkshire Hathaway is the company that they jointly own, all right? So VTSAX has heavy hitters in there like that, but most importantly, you get broad access to the entire stock market. The other one that I want you to write down is FBGRX, and that is a Fidelity Blue Chip mutual fund. And these are the recession-ready companies that I was telling you about, right? Like, imagine a world where people don't go to McDonald's. Now, I know some people who are vegan are like, y'all just stood up and y'all clapped in the whole, you was like, yes, get rid of the chicken nuggets and the french fries. But there's a 5-year-old right now that if McDonald's went away, they would cry tears of sadness and not one tear of joy, right? McDonald's, Home Depot knows me by my first name, right? These are companies that probably will not go out of business for a while. What are some other companies that are in FBGRX, right? Apple, right? Some of y'all are team iPhone, right? I'm team Droid, right? Droid is not looking good on me right now with my internet being intermittent, but I'm still gonna hang on. But the gang over there with Apple, I already know that y'all might have some problems with it. I know you got to get jumped into that gang and use all their products, which is why I'm over here being free with Android. But Apple is on there. Uber is in there, NVIDIA, which makes microchips. So all the microchips that go into your laptops, you know, some of us are working from home. Our laptop is our lifeline through Zoom, which some of us probably should be paying rent to because we spend so much time on it. But like NVIDIA is on there. Facebook is part of it. We're on Instagram right now. So if you spend a lot of time scrolling through the gram, your child might as well invest in it, right? Through their mutual fund. And Tesla's also in there, right? What's the future of vehicles? It's electric vehicles. Whether you own a Tesla or not, whenever Elon Musk speaks, the cryptocurrency markets move, right? And Teslas as well. I've been in a few Teslas and they're pretty nice cars and they're also really great on gas. And oil, because you don't have to put oil in the engine. They don't have an engine. So these are some of the top companies that are in this fund. And when you're thinking about mutual funds that may benefit your children, you always want to think long term, but you also want to think short as well. And when I say short term, I want you to think about those companies that are new, that have a bright future. And so that's when you go into your mutual funds and you look at small cap companies, right? So small cap companies are those small companies that have perhaps a bright future. Peloton, right? Peloton blew up during the pandemic because everyone was working out at home, right? Teladoc right? People weren't going into medical offices, right? What were they doing? Teledoc were allowing people to visit their doctors from the comfort of their home. Zoom, right? Zoom, that's 5-6x return, right? People aren't meeting in person. People were meeting via the computer. And so you want to think about what are those small companies that might have a bright future, right? Who is a competitor for Amazon? Think about Mercado Libre, right? So that is the Central American, South American version of Amazon. You know, what are the companies that are doing really good business like Roku, right? Roku. Some of y'all have a Roku TV. Think about those new companies that may grow over time. So parents, when you're thinking about investing on your child's behalf, this is an opportunity for you to choose funds that may work. Now, how does this work in actual practical numbers, right? So we talked about 529 college savings plan. We talked about the custodial IRA account. We talked about how your child can earn income, and I gave you 2 mutual funds that you can start out with. If you invested $250 a month, every month for 45 years. Now, I know some of y'all's eyes crossed when I said 45 years, but remember, if you start with a newborn, right, you start with a newborn and you invest $250 until they reach 45 years doesn't seem like a long time. Now, if you invested for 45 years and you're starting at age 50, well, I need you to eat your Wheaties and walk 5 miles a day so you can see the returns on that investment. But ultimately, there's some of y'all watching this now, y'all 35. You wish somebody had been investing from you from age 0 to 35 because 45 is on the horizon. So let's say $250 a month, every single month for 45 years, assuming an 8% return. Your child would have made $135,000 contribution into their individual retirement accounts, but the total return will be $1.2 million. $1.2 million. And if at 45, your child says, Mom, thank you, Dad, thank you for this contribution, and stops investing, you've done your part, but not enough. Because by that time, your child should know the investment that you're making on their behalf, so that at 45, they're not kissing up to a boss that treats their job like a jail sentence because their mom and dad have invested in their economic freedom at the age of 0, so that at 45, while they're still young, they can say, F this job, right? I got me. Now, let's say you want a shorter term horizon, right? When the baby moves out, then the baby got to pay their own bills, right? My mom told me when I graduated from college, she didn't pay no bills unless I really, really need it. I mean, I would really have to need it. So like that did motivate me to be a second generation financial teacher because I know my mom meant what she said. So let's say you want to do $250 a month every month for 21 years, right? Baby slides out. I know birth is not that easy, but the baby is her, right? The baby done came through the canal. The baby is her, right? You invest $250 a month for 21 years, assuming a 10% return, you would have invested $60,000, $63,000, but your overall return would be $200,000. The interest you would have gained by investing in a fund that returns at 10% would have been $139,000. Imagine if you could just tell your money to go to work every single day, and after 21 years, they bring you 100 stacks, right? Some of y'all up here talking the money on your ear, you need to be putting money to work in a mutual fund. I was telling somebody the other day, money can't live in my house and not work. Let me tell you something. Money cannot live in my house and not work. You can't be up in my house, money, and be going take a 2-hour shower, going up into my refrigerator, eating all my food. You can't be up in this house, sleeping all up in my bed and not generating a return. You need to think about money, right? Like a boyfriend that you broke up with, but still live up in your house with no job. You need to think about your money like a girl that live up in your house eating all your food. Let's say it's your cousin. She live all up in your house, eating all up in your food, able-bodied, but refuse to get a job. You talk about, girl, you got 2 feet, 2 hands, all your teeth in your head, and you ain't got no job. Ain't even submitted a resume nowhere. You see a get ready to hire sign 2 miles down the road. She can walk. You need to have an attitude about money is that if it's not returning, it's not working hard enough. And when we talk about putting money to work, we're talking about investing it into an individual retirement account. We're talking about putting it in an interest-bearing savings account. We're talking about putting it to work in an LLC. We're talking about money, right, being you getting your money back in the tax return because you know how to pimp the tax code, right? You don't have to be Donald Trump. You don't have to own Amazon paying zero taxes out in these streets in order to benefit from money going to work for you every single day. A people with no capitalists in a capitalist economy remain economically weak if cash becomes your king and you are not king or queen over your cash. Some of you all miss that. So when you put your child's money to work, and I say things like $63,000 in contributions, but $139,000 came back in interest. What that was is that $63,000 was for these money streets, right? They out here, they in the streets, right? They coming home dead tired, flat out on the floor, dog tired, 2-hour nap, and they back in the streets making $1 out of 15 cents. Bringing you back $139,000 while you at a job with Becky looking at you cross-eyed, wondering why you came up in there with an afro and not an 18-inch track. Talk about it. Your money is earning you your economic freedom when you go to work every single day, happen to code switch so that people feel comfortable with your blackness. Some people don't talk about that, right? The pieces of yourself that you have to leave behind in order to guarantee a paycheck because you don't want your babies to starve. That's why the child tax credit and putting it to work for wealth, specifically for Black wealth, is such an important conversation, because flexing with the Birkin bag, right? Flexing with a new car, I don't care if it's a Rolls Royce or a new Hyundai, right? Flexing with a 26-inch weave, no shade if you can afford it, but your child can't retire at 45 because you would rather spend $250 getting hair and nails done. You would rather spend $250 buying Jordans. You would rather spend $250 going on staycation versus paying and investing in a mutual fund so your child doesn't have to worry about all of the different microaggressions that come in a capitalist economy to Black people simply because we are Black. Black women will lose $840,000 over their working career, not because they're not twice as smart, not because they don't work twice as hard, but simply because of the pay gap. Our ability to put money to work is to say that we own our labor and nobody else does, unless we allow them. The last thing I'm going to talk about is LLC creation and how your kids can be accomplices to your wealth creation. See, y'all in here, listen, y'all about to make me get my church face. See, when I start talking about wealth, I'd be like somebody, where's church fan at? Right? So every Black person should own a business, and if it makes sense, should own an LLC. And if you have a child, owning an LLC always makes sense, because your child being a member, which means an owner of your LLC, allows for you to participate in family activities and have Uncle Sam pick up the check, right? When you own a family business, I want you to think about the people that you created, right? The family that you made versus the family that you inherited. The children that you have direct influence over on how they raise versus your cousin Nut, who, listen, he 52, right? He maybe not where he gonna be, right? Because I don't give up on people. But you don't trust Nut, but you trust Junior because you raised Junior. You see him every single day. Put your child as a member of the LLC, and now a family vacation, as long as you're doing business, becomes a business trip. Do you know how expensive it is to take a child to Disney World? Do you know how expensive it is to take a child to King's Dominion and Six Flags? Imagine if at Six Flags you were sourcing materials for your child's next modeling gig on your blog. We talked about it, right? Your child needs to to go get Mickey Mouse ears, Princess Tiana nightgown so she can model on your blog. And now it's a business trip, and the tickets that you purchased, right? The concession that you purchased because you need to eat the $25 hamburger, right? That's how much it is. Now it becomes a business meal and a business expense, and you can write off mileage. This is the hustle that they don't teach you in school, right? Let's think about it. Your child is an owner in an LLC, so whenever you talk to them about business and it's over a meal, that is a 100% deduction. You already know you purchased a whole entree for your kid and they ate 1 string bean and 3 chicken nuggets. Now, instead of that costing you $15, it is a tax write-off. It's important for you to understand the mechanics of how business works because the tax code was set up for owners to win and employees to pay. When you're driving your child to the soccer game, when you're driving your child to basketball practice, when you're driving your child to softball camp, right? When you're driving, you know all of what you need to do when you're driving your child to go get the 6 pair of cleats because the foot is just growing at 100 miles per hour. Now all of that mileage becomes write-offs. You complaining about a full tank of gas, and Uncle Sam is encouraging it because he knows if you incurred that under an LLC, it is now a tax write-off. It is important for us to learn fluently the language of wealth. In a capitalist economy, it can mean the difference between your forever incarceration in debt and destitution or your economic liberation, which guarantees you the type of wealth where your job doesn't have to be your jail sentence and where ownership becomes a standard and not an aspiration. And that's why I started off this live by saying, write your vision and make it plain upon tablets, that he that reads it may run, right? For the vision is yet for an appointed time, right? But at the end it shall speak. Wait for it shall surely come. What vision do you have for yourself? What vision do you have for your kids? You have to speak what you see until you see what you said. You have to write it down in order to make it real, because that's what faith is all about. Seeing those things before they materialize, right? Materializing the substance of things hoped for, evidencing things not yet seen, does not necessitate that what you wrote has to actually exist, but simply that you've planted the seed to turn whatever financial obstacle that you have in your life into an economic opportunity for this generation and the next generation and the next generation and the next generation. What have you written down and claimed for your descendants? And these are the conversations that we should intentionally have daily. This Wealth Wednesday is going to be on YouTube. I'm trying to get to 100,000 subscribers. So if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, check me out there. Again, this is going to be there. This